One of the biggest gaming rumors of 2020 is, of course, the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection coming to the Nintendo Switch. Over the past few months, we have heard things about this collection, and with Nintendo's 2020 now being wide open after the release of Paper Mario: The Origami King this Friday, many are expecting Nintendo to talk, and talk soon, about the rest of the year. Now, within the past 24 hours, a bunch of new things have been said about the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection, and it seems like that information on the game is coming soon, as in next week soon. So what's the latest information on the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection? And most importantly, should you trust this information? What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's talk about the latest information about the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection and whether you should believe it or not. Now, before we get into the latest information about the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection, let's catch everyone up to speed about how this rumor even started in the first place. Of course, the basis of this story is the fact that a few months ago it was leaked that Super Mario would be getting a big celebration for its 35th anniversary, which of course is taking place this year. Super Mario Bros. On the NES originally released 35 years ago, so Nintendo seems to be trying to celebrate it. Now, 4 titles were announced to be coming to the Nintendo Switch in the Super Mario 35th Anniversary compilation. Super Mario 64 from the Nintendo 64, Super Mario Sunshine from the GameCube, Super Mario Galaxy from the Nintendo Wii, and Super Mario 3D World from the Nintendo Wii U. Now, 3D World has long been rumored to be coming to the Nintendo Switch in the first place, and of course it does make sense because of the fact that a lot of Wii U games have been ported over to the Nintendo Switch. But obviously the 3 other games were very interesting because you don't really see Nintendo re-releasing mainline Mario games all that often. Now, of course, with Paper Mario: The Origami King releasing in a few days, Nintendo has nothing for the rest of 2020 with their lineup of games when it comes to first-party titles. The latest rumors that are starting to float around is that a Nintendo Direct is happening next Monday on July 20th, and while I'm not too sure about it being a full-on Nintendo Direct, I could definitely see it being a Mario 35th related event, similar to something like a Super Smash Bros. Event or a Pokemon event that aren't really full-on directs, but more specific based on an individual game or game lineup. So now that we've gotten that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the 3 latest stories that have been circulating over the past 24 hours about the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection. Now, this first story is coming to us from Hot Girl Video 69 on Twitter. And I know what you're saying to yourself, RGT, we don't need to hear about your adult exploits, all the Twitter accounts you follow, but in case you aren't familiar, Hot Girl Video 69 is actually a leaked account that basically talks about video game related stuff. They just have a very funny title when it comes to their title of their Twitter account, which I can appreciate. But basically, this person sent out the following tweet a few hours ago. What if the Mario collection was announced next week? I would flip. Now, I know what you're saying to yourself, well, what does this matter? You know, this account, I've never heard of this account. Well, you probably should have heard of this account because they've actually been very accurate with things very recently. Aside from Jeff Grubb, myself, and a few others, they were actually one of the people who correctly predicted that Nintendo was going to do a Nintendo Direct Mini in the month of March. And nobody really believed that that event was going to happen, but it ended up happening. Of course, it was a stealth drop Nintendo Direct Mini, which made it all that much crazier. They, alongside of Jeff, were also some of the first people to talk about the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection. So it almost feels like this individual is hinting that you're going to get this information on next week, which of course is in line with all the latest Nintendo Direct rumors of a Direct happening on July 20th. So I think this is sort of a little bit of a hint. Obviously, it's not, you know, something definitive or anything like that, but considering the track record of Hot Girl Video 69, which, I mean, I'm always gonna laugh when I say that name, I think they are worth listening to because these hints can also become, you know, substantial things when it comes to video game leaks. The next piece of information actually involves yet another Twitter account, but this is actually a brand new Twitter account, and now everyone is kind of wondering, well, what is this all about? We, of course, have talked about Twitter accounts on this channel before when it comes to individual games. Very recently with the Xbox Series X, we talked about how Perfect Dark and Fable both had some new Twitter accounts pop up that were locked accounts, and then, of course, Aaron Greenberg came along and said, well, it's standard to protect our IP, so we make these accounts and then lock them so that someone doesn't come along and do anything with it. But then, of course, the Perfect Dark account started saying that they were just a fan account. So like, which is it? Is it a Microsoft owned account? Is it Microsoft trying to throw people off the trail of these games so that people can be excited when a Perfect Dark or a Fable are announced during the Microsoft event happening on July 23rd? I definitely think it's a bit of misdirection, and I think it's kind of clever that they're going about it this way. Now we are seeing a mysterious Twitter account though, with the @handle being Super Mario 35th. Now obviously that would be in line with the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection, and that's why it would have that sort of name. Now this account was actually registered back in March of 2020, and it's pretty common for Nintendo to have dedicated accounts for specific game titles. Of course, March 2020 is when we first started hearing about the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection, so it would make sense that, you know, someone would come along and get that Twitter handle for Nintendo's account. Now you could be saying to yourself, well, what if it's just anyone making this account? You know, it could just be a random person who heard these rumors back in March and decided to take up that Twitter account. And I would say that that's a very valid explanation, except when you look at the finer details of things with this. If you're to put in a lost password request for this Twitter account, it of course gives you some of the email information about what the lost password request is going to be sent to so that you can verify it via Twitter. Now looking at this, you can't see a lot of the characters in the email address or anything like that, but if you look at the domain at the end of it, it should be pretty clear what this domain is actually registered to, and that is nintendo.co.jp, which of course is a domain that Nintendo uses for Nintendo of Japan's account. So really, I think this is a real account because of the fact that it is tied into an email address with nintendo.co.jp. And once again, this is something that was actually just recently discovered. And like I said, when you're talking about big mainline IPs and things like that, it makes sense for Nintendo to come along and try to register those domains, especially on Twitter or something like that, so that they can have information out there about these games. And basically, you know, it's a big PR thing on Twitter. It's all about promoting yourself, promoting your games, promoting your work. So I think it definitely makes sense. And the fact that this links back to a nintendo.co.jp email address, I think this is definitely a very legitimate thing. So now we're starting to get a lot of interesting pieces of information with this alleged Super Mario 35th Anniversary event that's happening during a Nintendo Direct on July 20th. Like I said, I feel that this will be a dedicated presentation to just Super Mario 35th Anniversary, if indeed there is something that does happen next Monday. But the final piece of information actually comes to us from a leaker that we have talked about on this channel before, that leaker being Zippo. Now, Zippo's track record isn't really the best. The last time we talked about Zippo, I wasn't too impressed with their track record, but very recently they have been getting some things right, such as the Animal Crossing Direct in the month of February, and they were one of the people that said that a Nintendo Direct was coming in the month of March in the form of a Nintendo Direct Mini. So maybe their information has gotten better, but this other information, we're going to take it with a grain of salt, but I do think it is worth talking about because it's interesting stuff. Now, Zippo pretty much did say that this event would be happening on July 20th, which of course is next Monday, but they actually went into a bit of detail about what to expect from these versions of Super Mario that are going to be announced for the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection. When it comes to Super Mario 64, the game will have slightly better looking graphics and, more importantly, widescreen support for the first time, at least officially. You got to remember, Super Mario 64 PC released a couple months ago, and it added in things like widescreen support if you were playing this game on your PC, but Nintendo quickly came along and took that whole thing down because it's obvious that that's what they were going to be trying to do with something like Super Mario 64. So according to Zippo, it doesn't seem like this is going to be built from the ground up or anything like that. It'll just have improved visuals and of course widescreen support to make it feel and look more modern. As far as Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Galaxy are concerned, allegedly both of these games are just getting an upscale in resolution. Now I do find that a bit interesting. I think that would work fine for Super Mario Galaxy because that game looked and played really well, but Super Mario Sunshine I feel is a game that would actually need more work than just a simple up-resing. I think they would have to sort of redo the controls and maybe make the controls and the physics in the game just feel a little bit better, because that was sort of one of the disconnects that a lot of people had with Super Mario Sunshine, was it just didn't feel as tight as a standard Super Mario game did, and a Super Mario game should feel, in my opinion. So allegedly both of those games are just being up resolution. But the most interesting part to me has to be when it comes to Super Mario 3D World, because a lot of people were expecting that to pretty much just be a port and maybe have, you know, an additional character added into it. But according to Zippo, Super Mario 3D World is going to be Super Mario 3D World Deluxe, and they're actually adding in a bunch of cool new stuff to this version of the game. Now, they didn't elaborate as to what this cool new stuff would be, but I find that to be very interesting because out of the 4 games, I would think that game would be the game to get the least attention because, like I said, it released on the Wii U, but I guess you can't really do much in terms of the graphics and up-resing of the game, so you do have to add in some additional content. We have seen that, of course, with games like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, which added in a bunch of Super Mario Odyssey elements into the game that made it really fun, in my opinion. I really like those Super Mario Odyssey segments that were in Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and for me, it was a reason to repurchase the game on my Nintendo Switch, plus it's a great game to begin with. So what could these new added elements be? Could they be adding in elements from Super Mario Odyssey, potentially adding in new levels, and of course new characters? I guess it really remains to be seen, but all of these 3 things are basically circumventing with one sort of thing: a July 20th announcement for the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Collection. Now, what do I think about it at the end of the day? Do I believe all these rumors? Not necessarily. Like I said, I definitely don't think you're getting a full-on Nintendo Direct on July 20th. It just doesn't really sort of line up with the things that I have heard and what Nintendo has been doing so far. However, I do think a specific Mario-related event does make sense, and I do think that that could potentially happen on July 20th. At the end of the day, like I said, these are all just rumors and speculation, but when a lot of people are starting to talk about the exact same thing, you kind of got to listen to it. So hopefully, if Nintendo is smart, we will get this information next week for Super Mario 35th Anniversary. But let me know in the comments section down below what you think of everything. Do you think we are going to get this information? Do you think it's going to be a full-on Nintendo Direct next Monday? Will it just be a Super Mario related event, or is nothing going to happen and Nintendo fans will just be sort of tapping their feet while watching the Xbox Series X presentation? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel as well. Yesterday we talked about the NES Lego set that's coming out. Earlier today we had the NES and Super NES online games for the Nintendo Switch Online service, so make sure you guys check out both of those videos, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.